Voters in Colorado and Washington became the first in the nation to legalize the recreational use of marijuana. Joining us now is Dale Sky Jones, the Executive Chancellor of Oaksterdam University, which essentially teaches all about marijuana, how to grow it, how to sell it, how to market it. Have I got that right, Sky?
Indeed you do. Good morning. Thanks for having me today.
Would you consider this a breakthrough? Voters in Colorado and Washington state say, okay, you don't need a prescription, it's not medication, go ahead, get stoned, get high, it's recreational, it's legal. A breakthrough?
Well, I think this is honestly, Stuart, a breakthrough for all the citizens in the United States. Think about this for just a moment. Up until the other day, any police officer approaching any adult with any amount of cannabis or even just the smell of marijuana treated that marijuana as contraband. Now it's considered a commodity. Now think about that contraband. They now have to take that by force from that citizen and then go prove that it's marijuana. So we're also looking at tremendous cost reduction even to our crime labs. Not just dollar cost but human cost, because we can now focus on violent crime. Rape kits can now get gotten to because we're not focusing on proving that little bag of green stuff is marijuana.
So to you, in principle, it is a breakthrough. I think you've expressed that very well. Now, I've got a couple more questions.
Indeed.
What are the feds going to do? Because cannabis is still illegal under federal law. And the feds have gone around California busting up medical marijuana offices. I mean, the feds have stepped right in. Do you think the feds will step into Colorado and Washington state?
Well, that's an interesting point, and this is what's so troubling. You see horrible attacks occurring not just in California, but in Montana, where people are facing upwards of 80 years of mandatory minimums. Compare that to, say, Jerry Sandusky, who's facing, 30. When you look to these states that now have this opportunity to commoditize, we can tax and regulate this. The feds are going to react in some way, shape, or form, but they don't have the ability to react to everything. It's going to be selective prosecution, where a few key players are made examples of, much like they have been thus far. But keep in mind that over 98% of all of the cost to enforce this failed marijuana prohibition is taken on by the states, and those two states don't have to pay for the feds' folly anymore.
I don't want to get into the rights or the wrongs of legalization. I got a couple of almost technical questions. Is it true that the strength of marijuana, I believe it's called the THC content, has it gone straight through the roof? Because you guys in your labs have been making a very potent strain. Is that true?
Well, actually, it happens more often in grow rooms that strains are selected for different types of benefits, and in some cases, yes, how high. But it's a lot of urban myth. The reality is they tested Mexican ditchweed 30 years ago and compared it to indoor hydroponically grown strains. You still had Maui Wowie in the 70s, Stuart, and if they had tested that, it would have tested similarly to what we have today.
Don't get me in trouble, young lady. Don't just say, you had Maui Wowie. Don't say that, okay? Don't get into that. Now, so it is true that that weed is more potent. I mean, that is true, isn't it?
It's more available. The truth is that more potent cannabis is available, but the truth is they smoke less. You ingest less of the more potent cannabis.
I'm told that some guy in a lab, and I think it was in upstate California, Humboldt County, created a seed, and it was the super seed, and this thing was like 30 times more potent. The weed that you got at the end point was 30 times more potent. This super seed, I think he sold for like $50,000. Is there any truth to that whatsoever?
I would say that if it's not urban myth, then I'd like to meet that guy and sell him a bridge, because the way that cannabis works is sexual, just like humans. Stuart, I'm about to get you in trouble again. It needs a male and a female to make that seed. And so unless you are cloning a plant that is already known, you have no idea what that seed is going to be. If you go plant an apple, a Macintosh apple, you're going to get a crab apple at the end, and you don't know what that seed is going to produce.
We're going to leave it right there, Dale Sky Jones. But look, it's very interesting. And I
hope you can come back to Oaksterdam University one of these days and learn more about what we're talking about.
Look, I think it was very interesting that you say that it's a breakthrough in terms of principle in Washington State and Colorado, and I think you're right on that. Dale, thanks for joining us.
Indeed, it's the costliest war we've had, Stuart, in the last 4 years.
You always get that last word in there. Very good. We'll see you soon, Dale. Thank you very much.